Turn up the dive, feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's so I remember I share and subscribe. Join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Spectrum here live today on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones, and again, we are live today, so this is going to be a great show. We have a great guest here joining us all the way from over in Athens, Greece, on vacation, taking some time out to join us today and share some amazing knowledge with all of you. Before we get to that, guys, coming up, I want to remind everyone our Patreon page, Patreon.com/Wisconsin Caps. You can check out all of our cool new stuff there. Become a Patreon, and you can watch On the Trail of Undiscovered Beasts. Season 1 is there streaming now. And then we are bringing you brand new content there before anywhere else. So make sure you guys head on over and check that out. Show your support for Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. This Saturday, we are going to be in Johnstown, Pennsylvania at Squonkapalooza. It's finally here, guys. Ron Murphy, myself, Daniel Benoit, Cryptids of the Corn, Eerie Travels podcasts, Bizarre Encounters, and Hillary Wilson will all be there speaking and presenting this Saturday in Pennsylvania. Come on out and check that out. Coming up in November, we are going to be at the Bell City Paracon in Summers, Wisconsin. We are going to be at CryptidCon in Lexington, Kentucky in November, and Fond du Lac, Wisconsin at the Soul and Synergy Expo in November. I also have a lot of library presentations coming up this fall and October. Make sure you head on over to Wisconsin Caps and click on public events page to check out all of that. If you want to show your support for all things here on the Untold Radio Network, here's how.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
All right, guys. My guest today is Kastalia Nova Theo. She is a channeler, I'm going to mess this word up, clairaudent, a lightworker, a spiritual development podcaster, Elfian Realm communicator, and self-published author of 2 channeled texts. She has a deep connection to the realm of inspiration, the Elfian Realm, and she has done work to spread inspiration and help people step into the golden sunshine of their soul. She is here, as I said, joining us from Athens, Greece today on vacation, spending some wonderful time with us. Please welcome to the show, Kastalia. Hello. Welcome to the
Hi.
How are things going over there?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Good. How are things going over in Greece?
It's going really well. It's nice. Yes, things are going well. Sorry if there might be a little bit of a delay. Connection's a little bit shaky here sometimes. But yeah. Yes, it's been going really well. Yeah, my family is originally from here, so I'm having some great quality family time, and then also doing some fun things as well. So it's been going really well.
Very cool. Well, I'm so thankful that you're taking time out to join us today, and I really appreciate it. So I want to make the most of this because, you know, having you here and taking this out. So let's start from the beginning. Where did you get started with the Elfian Realm?
Yes. If you asked a question, I couldn't hear it. There was it kind of froze for a second. Sorry.
How did you get started with the Elfian Realm? How did your whole journey start?
Yes, so it started about 4 years ago. I was doing energy healing. I was getting energy healing done to me. And through that process, I was introduced to my Elfian spirit guide. We all have one that helps us in our ascension journey. And then he started teaching me about his realm. Eventually, I was presented with the opportunity to be their realm's communicator, and I started kind of receiving the downloads of who they are, where they came from, what's going on. And so it happened after I was done healing myself and a lot of my trauma wounds, and I became lighter energetically, that I could connect with them. And then it took off from there. So I want to say about December of 2020 is when it really started kicking off, that I was working with them closer and starting to understand their realm more.
Cool. Had you talked about getting some energy work done on yourself? Had you been doing like any kind of medium work or channeling prior to that, or was this like the first how it started?
It was the first how it started. I hadn't really done anything before that except maybe like card readings, like tarot oracle, but that would be about it.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the Elven Realm. When you talk about them, are they energetic beings? Are they spiritual in a different realm? Or do they actually have a physical form somewhere?
I would say they're energetic in another realm. They don't have a physical form right now. They did have during the Atlantean age. It says only when the Earth can reach a higher energetic status that they can start manifesting physical forms. Right now, they're just energetic in another realm, but they do appear as if they have a physical form.
So we've all kind of seen like, like Santa and the Elves, and we've seen like the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. How would you describe the appearance? How do they present themselves to you? Do you see them physically, or does it just present as like a thought or feeling?
It kind of varies. I would say sometimes it's just I sense their presence, but most of the time they all have very unique appearances based on their domain that they work with. And so in the first channel text that or channel booklet that I published, their images were in it. So they're more accurate representations of what they look like were in that text, showing their imagery. And on my website, you can see them as well. Each domain, they all kind of look the same in their own domain. I would say that like Lord of the Rings, Santa Claus, those things would be like more misinterpretations. Some of them are very close to what they look like, have some similarities, but not exactly. I would some miscommunication, some misinterpretation, but the ears is pretty accurate because of the fact that they come from the flower of inspiration energy,
Okay.
and so their ears are representations of the petals. So having that ear as the noticeable factor is very accurate.
Interesting. So I want to make sure that we got this right here. So is this your first book or your second book?
That's the first one. So that on the cover is their source and then the flower of inspiration. And so you can see the energy of the source having that ear shape. And then in that text is where was the first publication of their images in it.
Now, you talk about that this is a channeled text that you
Mhm.
wrote. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and what is the book about? What do they want to get out as far as information?
So with channel text, it's more like kind of like automated writing if you're familiar with it. It's I'm just what's coming through is coming through without any filtration. I just was sitting and typing and it came through as like a download. And then later when I went to check the grammar and things, I could clairaudiently hear them telling me, correct this, correct this, correct that. But the first initial like draft of it was just what was coming through as a form of like just channeling it through without any filtration. The first one was more of just like an initial introduction, their way of breaking the silence and communicating themselves. And so the intention of it was to tell their story and share some true stories. The elders, each of the 7 domains has an elder that kind of leads and guides the little elves, as I would call them, in their domain. And so they are the ones coming through, sharing some stories, and then also their image as well, just explaining. It's a very like basic explaining who they are, where they came from, what they do, how they can help us, and some of the little teachings in it as well. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
So there's a lot to unpack there. Let's
I
start
know.
with where do they come from? Were they you talked about the Atlantean age and stuff. So were they originally like a physical species on Earth? And so then they're in another realm on Earth now, or are they from a different planet, or what's the origin of them?
So they originally existed before the Atlantean age. They were created initially by the creator as elementals of inspiration, and as like the universe evolved, and that's kind of more touched on in the second channeled booklet. It would be their evolution as like beings. But in a quick summary, would be they were created to spread inspiration throughout the universe to other realms, and then they started creating eternal loving friendships with these other realms, and specifically with the elements. So the cosmic elements, divine light and love, higher light frequencies. So they started blending and becoming one with these energies. So then they became elementals of, divine light, divine love, the violet flame. And slowly they started growing. And now that they work with ascension and work with a healing frequency. So over time, they started changing what they were doing. In each golden status of the earth, they would come down and manifest into the physical, as most other higher beings were able to do. But every time the earth fell, they elected to stay in the non-physical. They didn't want to exist in the physical plane forever. So they took a step back to kind of shed their physical form, but have their soul still have the appearance of a physical form.
When you talk about like the elementals, I think most of the time people think like, the earth, fire, water, air elementals, and those were not the elementals that you brought up. What's the difference there, and where's the disconnect between that, like as far as the elementals go?
So there are elementals of obviously the fire, earth, air, and water on from the earthly plane. There were elves that eventually came to the earth and became elementals of parts of the earth. But there's two different levels. There's the earthian elementals and the cosmic elementals. So we forget that the cosmic realm has so many elements. So sound frequency, color frequency, abundance, crystalline energy is considered stardust. So it is a cosmic element. So there are so many elements around us that are cosmic level that have elementals of them as well. I don't know where the disconnect would have come from. It's more of us being very focused on the world we see right in front of us and not acknowledging that these things that we can't see or feel also have energy, and have some deeper mission and purpose, specifically when it comes to sound frequency, divine light and love, and the higher light energy.
Interesting. So do you when people think about the Elven realm and stuff like that, I think we go back to the whole fairies and the Fae realm and stuff like that, and all of the mythology that goes along with that stuff. Is that accurate? Like, is where some of these stories came from? And what do they think of the other beings that are considered like part of Fae?
So I would say that a lot of mythology has some truth in it, but that's where misinterpretations come in. A lot of times the elves and the fae were miscommunicated as the same thing. So nymphs in the Greek mythology, for example, people were seeing them, they were seeing the fae and they were seeing the elves, and they were thinking, nymphs. And so both of them got miscommunicated as the same thing and meshed together. They have a friendship together. They're not I don't want to say not remotely the same, but they're not the same. The Fae realm has, the guardians of sacred spaces that I work with a lot. They have, the Faes and all of that in their own realm. I see them more as divine feminine energy, lunar energy that they're more connected to. And they feel more like the children of angels, as opposed to the elves that feel more like friends with the angels. They have that eternal loving friendship. The elves are they feel like more masculine energy, more solar energy. So you can kind of, when you start to see them as they are, feel the difference between them, but they do have such a nice friendship together. One specific domain, the Elfian animal healers, they also can help us connect with the Fae, the dragon, the unicorn, help us understand those relationships and what they really are. Because all the things like the unicorn, the Fae, the dragons, not all of them, most of them don't have this physical form we can see, but they obviously, those myths came from somewhere, they came from some truth. And so there are higher energies that are the Fae, are the dragons. So that's something else that the elves love to help with, is help us understand who they really are and how we can connect to them. So they're very fascinated by the misinterpretations and miscommunications, in the sense that it surprises them how the human mind works and how we'll create stories to avoid seeing things how they really are sometimes when we're not ready. But they're not offended, they're not angry, they don't have the human emotions. They see it more as this silly little thing, and they just can't wait for the whole truth to really be seen.
We hear a lot of people put the Fae and the Elven realm and stuff in the same camp as like extraterrestrials, and like the Greys and stuff like that. Is there any connection between the realms, or is this completely different stuff?
So it's like the Fae and the Elves have a connection for sure. The Greys, not as much. They reference the Greys sometimes, but they're not necessarily the same. They're all at different dimensional frequencies, and the Greys are more referenced in a different sense. Like they see the Greys as very separate from them and from us as humans. They see them as this very separate thing. I'd say in a way they're extraterrestrial in the sense that like they're what they call the energetic meeting place, the planet that their souls are residing in energetically, is something outside of us, and they are foreign to us, so they are alien in some way, but not in the same way. The Greys and the other more alien beings are definitely separate. They see them as this in between level of like humans and what they would refer to as the mystical. So the Fae and the Elfian and the unicorn and that level of being. And then above all of that is where the angelic realm would lie. So they kind of see them in that in-between area, but not related to us and not related to them.
So you kind of said something in the last statement there about the dragons and the unicorns. And did you said that they were, did we create the dragons and the unicorns? Is that kind of what you got on there? Or were they actually, again, like a physical being that was here?
They were, so they come from different energetic source energy. They were created as beings of that in the same way that we are beings of life and the elves are beings of inspiration. We obviously recreated stories about them. They existed in the physical during certain points, and then they gave up their physical form to help us more energetically. So a lot of them gave up the physical form to stay in their higher dimensional level and then make their presence known to us, that we could almost see them as if they were physical, to help us when we needed them. So they're not something that we created. There are some things from like in certain mythologies that were like created by humans during the experimentation. So a lot of like the fusions and hybrids of different things. But like the unicorns, the phoenixes, and the dragons specifically, those the big three, as they refer to them as, have always existed as beings of truth. Would be the phoenixes, knowledge, the dragons, and the unicorns. I can't remember what it was, but they're one of the higher energies. So yeah, best way to explain it.
So would you say that like a lot of the mythology of like the dragons of, being hunted and the knight's tales and all that stuff, is that accurate, or is that something that we've kind of mythologized?
I would say in some way, yes. I would, because if you see it from the perspective of the truth and knowledge of how we existed during a higher golden age, trying to be eliminated and hidden from our view, like you can see that there are some metaphors in those stories. And so for some of them, I see it as like there is a metaphor in the story of like what happened after the fall, what's happening now, what almost future telling of what's happening in the future, and what's happening presently now, of some things being hidden. We're trying to hide things, isolating the dragons, isolating the knowledge and the truth of what happened before. So I would say I can see more misinterpretation and metaphors, unless like that it really, really happened. I definitely think that there were times in our history as humans where negative energy, so maybe the negative version of them, everything has that lower self as we do, probably the negative version of them was trying to be removed from the earth, just as right now we're trying to clear the earth from all the negative things that are kind of plaguing it. So sometimes those stories, you can look at it and see that maybe the negative version of this higher thing is what was being hunted too. So it just kind of depends on your interpretation, but I see it as more of a metaphor, and sometimes misinterpretation, it kind of varies.
Interesting. So going back to this is like you said, your first book, you talked about them having some stories and stuff in there. So can you give us an example of like, like, are these their stories, like fables, or what do you mean by stories?
So stories more like their own experience and interpretation of things that were going on around them. So one of them specifically would be about Santa and how that interpretation occurred. So it's what they were able to see during that time. So what human they connected to, that human's story, and giving like a brief summary on like what occurred. Also just the story of their own realm and their own personal experience becoming who they are as elders, and what elves that they've worked with within their domain.
Can you give us an example? Like, you touched on Santa there. Can we hear about that?
Yes. Yes, so they, in that specific part, and I tried to find it. I brought them, both of them, with me. I only found the second one, so it would have been great if I found the first one. It's somewhere in this room. But with that one, they're touching on how the miscommunication and misinterpretation of Santa began in general. How in a way it started in such like a small scale, and it didn't like obviously reached a surface right away. They were talked about the carvings that occurred, things like that. And another one would be the experience of the fall of Atlantis and the experimentation as well. Talking about some of the like they call the goblins and gargoyles were failed experimentations, or more likely successful experimentations, and how that affected the human's perspective of beings outside of us, because there were these beings that were pretending to be ones that we had this friendship with, that we loved, that we trusted, and they started to appear like the ones we trusted, and then they were lying to us and they were tricking us. And so kind of highlighting how some miscommunications could have unfolded because of these lower frequency beings trying to masquerade as something higher than themselves.
Interesting. There's I had Chad Lewis on the show, and we talked about some of the Christmas and some of the holiday lore and stuff like that, and all these stories that you hear about the origins of Santa Claus and all that, and you never hear anything about where the elves came into the story.
Yeah, you never do.
Really interesting.
Never.
We have all this mythology and stories and Rudolph and all this where Santa has elves, and everybody knows this. But I don't think I've ever heard a mythology or a story or an origin of where they came from or any of that. So that's really interesting. So.
Yeah, it is, because in a way you can see that there's some holes in the story. There are very much holes in the fable, because it's plot holes. This doesn't make sense. How does this fit here? And I remember them telling me about the carvings that Nicholas made of the elves as a way to communicate their image. And hey, they're not scary. Look at them, and they want to spread joy. And he wanted to inspire people to be happy, of course, and to help kids specifically feel joy during dark times. And so that's kind of then the association happened, but where they came from to be associated with him is like it's always been unknown. You're right. I never thought of it that way.
Okay, obviously you have the story and stuff you've been told and all that stuff. So was Saint Nicholas a channeler of their realm as well, and he was like getting that information? So the elves are more of a non-physical thing that he had. They were more of his inspiration.
Yes, him, and there was a woman with him. They refer to her as Josette, and she was also communicating as well and writing poetry, I believe, about them, writing stories and songs. So they were channeling the messages together, and it was more of an inspiration. So more that they were inspired by them and wanted to spread their message of inspiration. Yeah.
Interesting. That's really cool. All right, we have a lot of questions over here in the comments section and stuff, so I'm gonna try and get through some of these and before we move on, because we had a whole second book here to talk about as well.
Yes.
So first off, Lee would like to know, you talked about them being inspiration to our realm and stuff, and this is a rather weird comment. Doesn't the Elven realm get tired of trying to inspire these dumb humans?
They actually do call us humans sometimes, actually. So it's really funny. But yes, I would say I don't think they get tired of it, but they won't try if they know that their energy is being wasted. So if there are specific people that they just can't get through to, they'll take a break and they'll maybe pass it off to, okay, it's their guardian angel's job to take over from here, or they're not gonna try too hard to get someone to see something that they're not ready to see. So if they know it's not working, they're going to take a step back because they're not going to try and infringe on free will, because that's kind of a contract that they've established with every realm, is that this is an eternal loving friendship. This isn't a dictatorship. So I'm not going to try and stomp all over you and be like inspiration, inspiration, inspiration. If you're not open to it, I'm going to take a step back. And so they'll not frustrated isn't the right word. They kind of just make a joke of everything in a way, but more like, you didn't listen to me. I was trying to show you this beautiful inspiration of a project for you to do. How did you not see it? And try to make us feel happy about the things that we may not have noticed. So even when we're ignoring their inspirations to us, they're still trying to make us feel joyful and inspired no matter what. Yeah.
Awesome. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, we talked to a dragon and a giant, have not talked to a phoenix or a unicorn. Looking forward to that. And follows up with, we talked to the Appalachian dragon, with Kastalia being in Europe. Would love to know if she knows of any dragons in that area.
So I do know that there is a portal for the Dragon Realm somewhere in Asia, and that there is portals for higher beings in the mountains, like the dragons and the elves. The elves specifically around kind of where I'm at, around like Bulgaria, modern day Ukraine, like those mountains would be where like some portal energy for the Fae and the elves. So I would assume the dragons are up there too. I know in the Himalayan salt caves, there are the elemental cleansers of the dragons, the phoenixes, the Elfians, and the Fae. So I'm sure there are some up there too. I haven't connected to any, but you can feel specifically when you go up in the mountains this like elevated energy of as if you're like flying. So maybe when I go up in the mountains more in Greece, I'm kind of by a mountain now, but I'm not as like high up. I'll see if I can connect to any, because I hadn't thought about that.
Interesting. She says also, the Atlanteans did major DNA hacking and development, many cryptids for that. I was gonna touch on this as well. So we have the Sumerian texts and stuff that go back way far away, and in those texts they talk about the Nokians, there we go, coming down, and they basically had a slave race that revolted when they were trying to get gold, and then they tried doing DNA testing to create a new slave race to mine gold on the planet. And the theory is that's where we get these half human, half animal hybrids, like the minotaurs and the centaurs and stuff like that. And then again, that kind of leads into the Atlantean stuff of the original Sumerians and the Enochians and stuff like that. Is that what you're talking about, or where's your storylines coming in?
Yes, it's around that same time period. Because what caused the fall of Atlantis was the experimentation. So yes, it's that same time frame. One specific instant that occurred for the Elfian animal healer elder, she found some failed experimentations of the goats and the horses, traumatized from the experience, and that's when she discovered kind of part of her purpose of working to help the animals clear their trauma wounds through their bloodlines, because they also, pretty much all animals, have these trauma wounds in their bloodline of that experience of being experimented on, because it was them and then all of these other mystical type beings. So yes, it's the same thing, just different terms for it, same experience that occurred.
Interesting. All right, guys, like I said, obviously you can tell we are live today. So if you have any other questions or comments, get them in the comments section. Another comment was enjoying the show. A lot of good conversation. I was up here. There you go. Love the conversation. And Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, I need to get your book. The links are in the show notes for both of the books, as well as her Instagram and websites and everything. There's a ton of links in the show notes if you guys go check it out. We'll get to more on that later in the show as well. But let's talk about your second book here. So this is your second book, and what is that all about?
So that one came to me. I had the experience of being invited in the astral realm to attend what's called an ascension celebration within their realm. So a human soul died and completed their initial purpose. So their Elfian traveler guide completed their purpose of guiding that ascension. And per the contract of their two souls, decided that he would go on to go through the ascension process in his own realm instead of sticking by her. So that was in the astral realm. I attended that celebration of the whole process that they go through when a soul within their realm experiences an ascension. And that's where this book came from, was the evolution of their realm. And so the picture of it is kind of how their realm appears. And you see the golden water path and the meadows of each domain. Very, very nature-esque, and it really appears that way, but you can tell it's not tangible. It's more the flower of inspiration creating that image of everything, because they were so inspired by the land of the earth and because they love us as humans and the earth that we live on. So this one is about their story and their overall ascension. So it started with just the story of the ascension celebration, and then I wanted to hear the backstory, and then I wanted more backstory, and I wanted more backstory. And so I just kept downloading the backstory, and it became such a nice little book about more than just their evolution, but also us as human souls and our universe and everything. So it offers insight into us as well as them and our relationship with them.
Interesting. So you talk about them, wanting to help the human race and, inspire us, I guess, and what is their message? Why are they communicating with you? What do they want you to tell us about them?
So they wanted to communicate their true story, and saw that it's the time of the earth where miscommunications are being cleared up. So a lot of realms are stepping forth, and a lot of truths are being revealed, because now is the time for us to start to awaken to the truth of what's going on outside of the non-physical. They came to me because I, many lifetimes ago, signed up to be their communicator. So I'm completing part of my purpose, not my initial purpose, but part of my purpose of being their communicator. They want to share. At first it was sharing their truth, because you got to clear the lies out of the way, and then just to work with us, because in previous phases of the earth they were working with us very closely. There is that eternal loving friendship, so they want to help us understand what truly harmonious connections are, universal unity, help us clear our ancestral ley lines, to help the earth ascend higher, and to help us step away from the 7 deadly concepts and to step into higher light. So really their main mission is to kind of make sure that this time, when the earth eventually ascends into a golden status again, the next golden age is talked about so much, when the earth eventually gets there, and it's not ready to get there quite yet. We still got a little bit of work to do before we're ready.
A little,
yeah, a lot. But once we eventually get there, they want to make sure that this time we do it right, and we're able to kind of hold in that higher status of the earth.
Have we been there before?
Mm-hmm. So the Atlantean age is what they refer to as the previous one. There was a lot of different phases during that age, of course, a lot of different periods of time going on. But that was the previous golden age. And then when it fell, the earth started over again. And every time it falls, it starts over. I think this is maybe the 4th time we're going through this process as an earth, or 4th or 5th time. So we've been through it before as an earth, through the process, and then some of us have gone through it on other phases of the earth and other dimensional levels and came to this one. And so some of us have been through it a million times, just how our souls evolve. We've been through it before. They just kind of want to help us not go through it again so quickly once we get there.
Interesting. Now you'd said because of the animal testing and stuff is why Atlantis fell, or was
The
there any more going on there?
experimentation.
Yeah.
There was more. It was a lot of it was falling prey to the darkness, the negative polarity, lower energy. So it was souls who were elevated higher, kind of falling back into it. So falling again, experiencing a descension, and then wanting, the lies and the trickery. They sometimes say that the first initial thing that caused the fall was the lie that allowed the experimentation to happen. So was the soul that said, I'm going to go do this thing, and lying about it to the group, because they were very group, very unity, sitting in a circle, sharing things. It was very much about like teacher learner. They were sharing things, and everything was very open. And in the non-physical, they're able to see things. There is no filtration. It's almost like you can't lie. So the fact that that soul was able to lie, was able to hide it, and go about starting to kind of create mayhem is what started to cause it. And it was that thought of, I can make this and I can make that, because we are beings of life, and we have this creator urge inside of us to create things. And so a soul just felt like they wanted to create things, and those things ended up not being so good.
Interesting. All right.
A quick summary of that.
Yeah. So was the Atlantean society, was that the elves, or were they the humans?
It was all of us existing together. So also the Fae and the Unicorn, everything existing together during that time period. It was a peaceful time where all higher beings started, I think, except the angelic realm did not, and some levels of some realms refused to make physical forms. They just like, I want to stay out of it. I want to be in the non-physical. But most of them created physical forms and kind of joined in. And it was humans existing in their highest self, in their soul, while having a physical form, which was something that was foreign to a lot of the souls. So that's more of what it was. It was a combination of all of us together.
Interesting. Let's see. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says many confirmations. Atlantis tried to use real crystal as chakras, made a being a nuke. Boom, many mistakes playing with the atom.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. It's very, because chakras, you can't we have them, but it's not like something you physically tangible that could be a crystal coming out of someone. So yeah, that makes sense. And the way crystals work with things, yeah, it makes sense, because crystals were a big part of the Atlantean period. They used them, they stored memories in them, they stored messages, they used them as it's my turn to talk here, I have something to share, and they use them all the time. So that doesn't surprise me.
Interesting. So, okay, now we're going to go down a different rabbit hole here. So, I've listened to some people's theories about how, nowadays we have, floppy disks, right? You remember floppy disks, 3.5-inch disks that you shove in a computer and you store data on. They're completely obsolete now. You're very hard pressed to find something that can, take data off of one of these things. Okay. So then you have DVDs and, the hard disk drives and stuff like that, where all of our information is stored. And in the future, who knows if somebody found any of those, if they'd be able to get the information off of that. So one of the theories is that back in the day, way back in these other times and stuff, that these crystals were used as basically like a floppy disk, and you have your I can't think of quartz crystals and stuff were basically used to store information. Is that kind of, do you think that's true? Is it, what do you know about that?
Yes, I would say so. And specifically with, I think it's Lumerian quartz, you can actually see the little codes in it. I wish I had it. I did not bring it with me. But if I have one, and you can see in it little codes inside of that quartz. So Lemurian quartz is very well known for having those little codes inside of them. Yes, from what I've heard from the Elfian Realm, they stored a lot of memories and energy in it, a lot of stories within the crystals, and not just the crystals, even the trees. There's something that they refer to as record trees that don't produce fruits, just like regular trees, like the weeping willows, things like that, where we as humans went to go and store some of our stories and our memory within the trees. And some of these ancient trees store so much wisdom within them. So yes, the crystals for sure hold a lot of memories and messages within them. And yeah, all quartzes, but I'd say clear rose quartz, I feel like sometimes does store some memories and codes within them. Almost all of them do to some degree, unless they're like newer, or if they're like artificially made, they obviously don't. But the like authentic crystals that are older absolutely do.
Do you have any idea how to access that information?
I've tried to figure it out. My best guess is to try connecting to the energy, try to do different meditations to receive the messages from it, treating it like a form of channeling, using it, journaling, trying to see if you can get visions from it. I feel like it would take a lot of practice to receive the messages from those crystals to try and understand it. I know that in a way, they help you uncover your hidden wisdom. And so I think that at first they would help us with uncovering our truth as souls and our soul story, and then slowly start uncovering things for us in a less obvious way would be my guess. Because I know after having the Lemurian quartz, I had a lot of things start to become uncovered for me in my own soul story and my story in this lifetime. So I know things are being revealed to me and messages are coming through. They're just coming through slowly.
Interesting. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, loving the talk. All current crystals are the bodies of the dragons. Gold was their blood. Why crystals are everything. Healing, power, powerful stuff.
Interesting. I've never thought of crystals being the bodies of dragons. I know specific dragons, yes. The dragons have a whole realm of ones that work with different things. Diana Cooper is a really great source for having insight into all the different types of dragons. But yes, gold is the dragon's blood that I have received that message because they are connected to the sun and the solar energy. Yes. Yeah, crystals are their stardust. They're charged with that healing power for sure.
I've kind of heard that before, like not the crystals as the bodies of the dragons, but I've heard like the scales and stuff is crystal on some of them. I mean, not all of them,
Yes.
but I have heard that on certain, I guess, like species of dragon or something have it kind of built into them. But
yes, yeah, definitely certain ones of them, ones that are more elementals of specific ones that work with them, have specific relationships with specific crystalline energy. Absolutely.
Very cool. Awesome. I think we're caught up in the chat then. Again,
Nice.
We are live, guys. If you have any questions or comments about any of this stuff, I mean, we are definitely open to taking them and hearing your thoughts and stuff over there. So you were telling me that you have courses available now. Can you tell us what do you teach? What are the courses on?
So I'm working on creating more. I created one that took a decent amount of time to make. So that's the first initial one. It is Fresh Start, Transform Your Home and Your Life. So it's a home cleansing course. It has some teachings of, I think it's the Law of One, and also from the Elfian Realm about going through the chakras of your home and creating a sacred space within yourself and within your home. It's a great way to work with the guardians of sacred spaces from the Fey realm, as well as the Elfian warriors, the ones that work with ley lines. And it's all about energy and, cleansing the energy of your car and money and physical items, and how you can set intentions and things like that. Because our energy attaches to everything around us. And so when we want to give something away, we don't want to be giving our energy away with it. So how to clear it, how to go about freeing yourself from the things weighing you down, and freeing clothing items in your house from energy that's stuck.
That's very cool.
I think it's frozen.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up just a little bit. We got most of that though, so we're good. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like we in the paranormal world, we talked about how your house is built out of wood for the most part. Most older houses are built out of wood, and you were talking about things being stored in trees. The energy and the thoughts and the information and stuff. And we talk about how when you do these remodeling on your house, you're disturbing that energy, and this is why things get stirred up and your house becomes more active during that time, because your house has memory. And now you're kind of talking about like working with the chakras of your house. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Maybe not. Oh, she dropped out. We are going to take a really quick break here, and wait a minute, and she's back. There we go. Are you back? Can you hear me? No. Yes.
Sorry, I think I got knocked out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I think I got bumped out, but I can hear you now. The last thing I heard was the energy being stored in the home.
Right. Yeah. So we were talking about like when you do remodeling and stuff, your house becomes more active with paranormal activity and stuff, because you're disturbing the memory of the house itself and that. And then you just kind of talked about working with the chakras of a house. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so the home does have chakras that can be disrupted and knocked off balance by different energies, and sometimes imprints of traumatic memories or people who've passed on kind of get stuck in the home and can't move and can't move on, and it gets very stagnant. So yeah, it's very important, the aligning of the chakras of the home and even the body systems of the home. The home does in a way have a mental body, an emotional body, and a spiritual body, where the chakras are. So it's definitely important when you're wanting to move out of a home, move into a home, or just like refresh your home, to check in with its chakras, because you don't know. Houses have been around for a long time, especially older ones. Newer ones not as much, but the land it's built on, yes. So you don't know if there was a war fought on that land, and there are trapped souls there. And so yes, even if you're experiencing like hauntings or things like that, souls that aren't able to move on, aren't able to let go, cleansing the home is a great way to, I'm bidding them farewell. You're not welcome here anymore. I wish you, good luck on your journey. I'm setting you free, helping give closure to those energies that are trapped in the home, for sure.
That's really interesting. It brings up another interesting thought of, you talk about not even just the land having things happen on it, but let's say there's a woods out there where a native battle or something happened, a war back in the Civil War or something, this battle where these trees have picked up that energy, and then you cut down the trees and then you build a house out of it.
Yes.
So you're literally bringing that energy into the house that has nothing to do with anything that happened in the house or on the land, but you still have this energy from somewhere else that's being brought in.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, especially, in America, with all of the battles and all the bloodshed and all the trauma that happened on that land. And in the forest, in the trees, yes. Like I would say, especially like older log cabins and things like that, you don't know where it's coming from. And so cleansing the home and that space is so important, because then you're absorbing that energy, because we're sponges as humans. So it's affecting you, and then it's affecting your home, because your energy with your home is connected. Then you're not able to do your, any work that you want to do of improving yourself or improving your home, because there's this stuck energy of anger, of fear, of pain, of loss. So yeah, I definitely agree that the wood and everything that built the house, whatever energy it absorbed, is affecting the house as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because like a lot of people don't think about that trees and stuff like that were alive. I mean, as much as we're alive, the cells, the organisms and stuff, people need to realize that plants communicate with each other. They send out pheromone signals and stuff, and they can communicate. There is just as much intelligence and thought behind everything that they do as we are. It's like the adage, if you try and judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, instead of like a monkey climbing a tree, the fish is always not as smart as the monkey, but it is way smarter in other ways. And yeah, I think that's really important to remind everyone. Ooh. Hopefully she pops back up. There we go. Welcome back.
Yes. Hi. Yes. It disappeared for a second again. I have a mountain, sort of a mountain right behind me, so it gets blocked sometimes, and planes fly over all the time. But yes, yeah, trees are alive, plants are alive, and we should remember that too, because they're absorbing things all the time.
Very good. All right. Well, I think I'm going to have you tell us where people can find you and everything. Where can people get your book and everything? Because in case we lose you, we want to make sure. So where can people get a hold of you? Where can they take your classes? Anything else that you want to tell people before we head out here?
Yeah. So my website, www.elfianrealm.com. That's kind of where everything is at. I have my first online course there, and I think there's also an option to sign up for an email list on YouTube, The Realm of Inspiration. I do a lot of channelings and things like that. Not as much right now, but I'm working on it, working on making more courses as well, kind of wanting to see what everyone is interested in and going from there. So also Facebook, which is, I have the Realm of Inspiration, our Facebook page, Instagram. I have, the page for myself, and then for, the book and the work and everything that I do. I do sessions as well. My mom is a spirit healer. So you can sign up for long distance healings with her, or spiritual coaching sessions. I do channeled readings, and you can, pick either a general random one, or specifically which domain of the Elfian realm you want to connect to, and receive messages from and ask questions to, or even like card readings. I do that as well. So if you're wanting to connect on that level, have some very personal questions you want to ask the elves, you can sign up for a session and ask them those questions one-on-one. I've had people do that before, come with a little tape recorder and ask those deeper questions, and they love those questions so much. They love doing readings for you and your individual life, but if you have general questions about things, they love answering them and sharing things. So I mean, anywhere and everywhere. I have TikTok. Right now I paused it, but on Spotify and I think Apple Podcasts, I have An Hour in Golden Sunshine, which is a little podcast that I started doing when I was getting over a phobia. So it was my way of sharing my story, and then it just turned into kind of whatever I felt inspired for it to be. So there's lots of things there as well. The website is the one-stop shop. There's the About Me, the About the Elves. There's a Meet the Domain series. So if you want to learn more about them, there's a whole series about each domain of the Elfian realm. Cosmically Inspired is another series with the cosmic elements. So learning about the divine feminine, masculine frequency, paternal, maternal, love and light, other higher energies. You can learn about your crystal connections and animal connections from blogs and videos that I've done as well. So everything's kind of there's a little bit of everything for however you like to consume media and information if you're interested. And then if you're interested in the course, that is on the website. And if you use Lion 8 until the end of the month, you'll get the course for $8. So, and it has a lot of really good information in it as well. And definitely sign up for the email list if you're interested so you can be notified. I do a monthly little newsletter to do some highlights of things that happen that month and things to look forward to as well.
Very cool. And like we said, you're on vacation over in Greece now, but you do you still do the in-person events? Can people get books from you signed and stuff in person? Is there anywhere you got any events and stuff coming up? Any expos?
I don't have anything right now because I'm in a little bit in like a limbo period of transitioning and doing different things. As of right now, I don't have anything in person. I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of things like virtually as well. So I'm hoping to do maybe some virtual workshops where people can connect from kind of all over the world and do some one-on-one things, do some group things. So I'm trying to figure out that right now. Nothing in person, no expos that I've signed up for, unfortunately. But things digitally and virtually, absolutely. There's so many ways you can connect, and I love receiving little emails or messages. So you can always send a message if you have a question, want to sign up for a reading but don't want to do it through the website. Anything. I love hearing anything. Just if you want to share something, have a conversation, don't hesitate to email. My email's on the website. Love chatting about things too, and would be happy to answer any questions. I can make a whole video about a question if you have it. I don't mind.
Awesome. Very cool. And I think if we have any other last minute questions or comments, Tennessee Bigfoot, says thanks so much for the conversation. They've subbed and followed you, and they will be talking. The new Earth is coming. Thanks to all the work like this. Love is the only and one way. Narrow it is, but it is the way. There you go. So,
yes, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You had mentioned also, I don't know if you want to talk about this before we sign off. You picked this date to come on for a reason. What was that reason?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it is the Lion's Gate, which is a very powerful energetic portal. 8/8. So we're in Leo season. The portal opened, I want to say it opened on the 26th of July and it goes until the 13th of August, if I'm remembering correctly. But like 8/8 is the day. It's like a very powerful manifestation day, a very powerful day for so many things spiritually. So if you're like more in tune with like tapping in and understanding astrology, you're more familiar with it. But it's something that's, universal, not just if you're interested in astrology or anything like that. But because we are in the Leo season, it's referred to as the Lion's Gate. But it's a very powerful creation, manifestation portal, and the perfect time to be talking about the truth of things and connecting to your power and purpose.
Awesome. Well, it seems like that for 10 a.m. here is very early for a lot of my audience. We have a lot of like after the fact viewers, but we have about twice as many people watching live this morning than usual for our shows. So it's definitely a very powerful day, it seems. So
yes, it is. So keep riding that wave of that energy. You guys have more time in your day. It's 7 p.m. here, so I've been doing it all day. But keep enjoying it. It's really nice to just embrace that powerful energy when you have it.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, I am going to let you get back to your wonderful vacation. I've been enjoying the pictures and stuff of the zoo. I thought that was awesome.
Thank you. It's really cool. really cool. They do a lot of conservation work, and I was very skeptical, but lots of conservation work. Really, really nice. It was more of like more open enclosures. You could walk through a bat cave. Like, I mean, had everything for you to be able to connect to them. So it's really nice, really cool. So if you're ever in Athens, go there. It's a beautiful place.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I enjoy seeing more pictures from your wonderful trip, and I hope that you have a wonderful time and safe travels, and
thank you so much.
everything goes well. Again, thank you again
for
taking time out and coming on today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about all of these things. Such a great chat.
Thank you again so much. We'll talk to you later.
Yes. Bye.
All right, guys, that is our show for today. Coming up next week on the Paranormal Spectrum, we have Shitan Noir is going to be joining us here to talk about all things paranormal and the Great Lakes and all kinds of cool paranormal stuff. I've never gotten a chance to talk to her about the paranormal, so this should be really fun. We usually talk about cryptids. Coming up next week on Monsters on the Edge, we have Zach Stem, who is joining us to talk about Southern Illinois Bigfooting and his encounter with what he believes is the Enfield Horror. But guys, right now at noon today, following this episode, the episode that was supposed to air on Monday for Monsters on the Edge with Todd Neese has been recorded because we had some issues. He had some things come up on Monday. So following this show today here Central Time at noon in 1 hour, the interview with Todd Neese will air today for you to enjoy and watch as well. So that is coming up today. Todd Neese on the Monsters on the Edge. And then next week we have Zach Stam. So awesome. Tennessee Bigfoot says, banger of a show. Thank you so much. I love that. Awesome. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share to all things here on the Untold Radio Network. And for those of you interested, you can get links in the show notes to all of the stuff for her books and everything from today's show. You can find that all in the show notes. Make sure you go check that out and show your support. Until next time, guys, I want to remind you all, we are all part of the Paranormal Spectrum. Take care. Hope you're all well, and I will see you next week.
You seem to know something I don't. What's going on? Can you tell me what it is, please? I'm not that slow like